Piper picked a peck of. Instead of worrying with that phrase about pickled peppers, we're gonna do the real thing today, guys, in the kitchen. Welcome back to Harmon Homestead. We're gonna can pickled peppers today. This is a different video. We're water bathing, so I want y'all to watch this. I'm using my Presto electric canner. That's what this is. Back here, this is what you need. I'm not sponsored by these people, guys. I'm just telling you, anybody can with this. It's foolproof. So this is water bathing. This is different than pressure canning. Water bathing is when you submerge your jars, usually pints or half pints, underwater. It's just boiling. It's a lot quicker. You take it out in the quick amount of time and that's it. So this is a jar that I did last year and these are amazing. These are wonderful on pizzas. It smells like an Italian restaurant if you put this on a pizza and cook it. Amazing stuff. So you need banana pepper. And what I'm using here is Ball's recipe. You see how old my book is. It just fell apart. Ball's recipe for hot peppers. I don't know the edition of this book. I keep telling y'all I can't find the edition anywhere, but it's this one. Hot peppers on page 92 of the Ball Blue book, but this is several years old. So this recipe calls for 5 pint jars, 1.5 pounds of banana peppers, 1 pound of jalapenos, 1/4 pound of serrano. I'm not doing any of that. I'm doing banana pepper, that's it. And these are sweet banana, not hot banana. But these were pickled hot banana. It's the same thing, okay? You need vinegar, plain white vinegar, water, and garlic if desired, and Ball pickle crisp. That's it. There's really nothing to this, okay? So we've washed our peppers here and I want to get my jars preheated. That's the beautiful thing about the Presto electric canner. You don't have to preheat your jars. It does it for you, okay? It does everything for you. So I'm gonna bring y'all over to this and let you see what's going on. All right, guys, so I just cut it on and it immediately goes to pressure can. You've got a dial down here. You've got an X button, that's stop, a dial to turn, and a go button here. That's it. We're gonna turn it from pressure can to the right to boiling water can. That's for water bathing, what these will be. And our recipe says that we need to process pint jars 10 minutes. That's it. Okay, so we're gonna hit boiling water can, hit enter. Look, 10 minutes. And then it says insert jars. And it starts to warm up. So what we're gonna do is insert 5 pints. I don't think I've got enough for 5 pints, but I always just heat up extra in case. Fill it up halfway with water, that way your jars will be heated. This is the same process for pressure canning. You just put your jars down in here in the pot. Now, inside the pot, there's 3 quarts of water in this canner, always, whether you pressure can or you boiling water bath. Either way, you've got to have 3 quarts of water. That's it. But the water bath canning, we're gonna add more water on top of this. Pressure canning, you do nothing else. So do that, just like that. Take our lid here and put it on. Now, I do not have my regulator on for this. This is my regulator. That's for pressure canning only. For water bathing, you leave it off, put it on, install the locked. You can lock this just for extra measure, and it's warming up. That's it. So while that's going on, we're gonna heat up our liquid to go on top of the peppers in the jar with the vinegar. All right, so I've got my pot on the stove. I've added 2 cups of water, just like the recipe said, 2 cups of white vinegar, and then now 1 quart of white vinegar. So that would be 6 cups of white vinegar and 2 cups of water. Turn that on high. Now at this point you'd want to add your garlic. I'm not doing that. If you do add garlic, it says remove afterwards. But what I'm going to do is cut this on high and we're going to let that boil. Now once it comes to boil, you want to simmer it, turn it down for 5 minutes, and then you're ready to fill in your jars. Now I would start cutting up the peppers right now, but I don't have anywhere to put them until my jars are preheated. So I'm going to wait till that's done and then do all this at once. But just be sure, cut it up, get it to a boil, then cut it down and make sure it simmers. When you boil vinegar, it will lose acidity, and you don't want that because acidity is what's going to preserve all of these. So just make sure and cut it down. You may not want to cut it to high, I just do. Just get it up quick, then cut it down. 5 minutes simmering on the stove, take it off the eye. All right, so our vinegar water mixture just started to boil. I turned the timer on 5 minutes up here on the oven. I've got a tea kettle. What I'm going to do is fill this up and turn it on high to boil. And that's going to go on top of our jars once they're filled up in the canner. This may not be enough water. You must cover these jars by 1 inch of water. If it's not, fill it up, do it again. If you don't have a tea kettle, you could do boiling water in a large pot or pan, but I'm going to tell you that's very, very dangerous. Boiling water bath canning is more dangerous than pressure canning, in my opinion, if you walk away and leave it alone and you do everything right. The problem is getting the water in that pot on top of those jars, trying to dump it. It's dangerous, it goes everywhere. I would use a tea kettle with a spout, pour it on top. That's what I personally do. If it's not enough, heat it up again, do it again, okay? It heats up so quick, you won't need a long period of time. So I'm gonna get this on the stove now. Now I'm waiting on my jars to heat up. We're getting ready to chop these peppers. I've got my water on over there. The vinegar mixture is about to come off the eye at 5 minutes. We've got to chop everything up to go in the jars. And then we pour this liquid on top of it inside the jar, seal it up, and we're done. So let me give you a little funny story. On my how to preserve squash video, it's doing great. We've had several thousand views. People are commenting right and left. We've had a good time with that video, and I showed you just chopping squash up and putting it in freezer bags, putting it in the freezer. I was using this knife right here, and I had a comment today, and a lady said, "Sweetie, your knife is very dull, and that is very dangerous. You need to sharpen your knife." Well, I'm using a steak knife to cut this stuff because A, I'm not a fancy chef. B, that's what I like to use because it's got teeth on it, and it is kind of dull. But for me, I have to kind of hack into something to get it to cut, so it's better. Now, I also have these beautiful sharp knives. I have these. And let me tell you a story about these. My husband just had to have me some sharp knives. He wanted me to have these beautiful sharp knives. So he got them up there, and I've got a whole set, and they were quite expensive. But I want to show you the handles on these. These are the handles. It's gray, and it's very rough. We've washed them. We've tried to condition them. That's what happens. So I don't use those knives every time you touch it. Now when your hands are wet, like cutting squash or cutting wet peppers or anything like that, or meat, your hands get wet. This starts running into the food. So that's why I don't use these fancy handy dandy knives that look like they come out of a chef's kitchen. I use the old rusted steak knife, or worn down dull knife. All right, my timer is off. Let's get ready to start cutting peppers. All right, guys, so over here at our canner, it says fill jars. That means I can take this off right here. I'm going to undo this. You need some oven mitts to pick these up. They're very, very hot. See that steam coming out? What I personally do, because it takes so much water for this, is I'll take the jar out. It's very hot. And I pour the water back in there. So I've got my jars here. I've got now 4 pints. I noticed that one of the jars was not exactly completely clean, so I may try to clean him off really quick. It's just a little something, but either way I'm gonna go with these 4 because they're warm. So I've got my jars here. My water's about to boil. I'm gonna start chopping peppers. I've got my debubbler and my funnel. You need that with every canning recipe that you make. Take your peppers, and I'm gonna use this knife right here, okay, this dull knife. See, because I have to hack through it, and for me, it's just better, okay? Most people, I'm sure, would disagree, but just for me, it's better that way. I don't want something just whop, whop right through it. I want it a little bit, like I got to force on to go through. Knife safety, guys. Knife safety. Just be careful with any knife, whether it's dull or sharp. I don't need a sharp knife. I'm cool with an old dull one. Okay. So if you've got rings that have the big seeds in it, what I like to do is cut it out a little bit, okay? You can do that, or you can leave it, either way. Some I do, some I don't. With banana peppers, you'll notice little black seeds every now and then where it's trying to just rot. So you may want to do that regardless. Never have anything that's discolored inside your jars of canned food, okay? Do you see how I'm just chopping these up? I may have 5 pints. I might need to fix that one up real quick while it's still warm. Okay, like him. He's got a little brown seed on the inside, if y'all can see. I'm going to just kind of flick that out. You do not have to de-seed these when you're canning them. You do not have to. You can just chop them up and put them right in. And that's very convenient that way. See, now I noticed a little one right there. You just don't want anything that may spoil the batch in here. Just like that. Can y'all see how we're doing it? Okay. That, if it's like a really thick ring, I'll, like that, we'll take it on out. So take your knife, lay it down so you're not holding it and it doesn't slip through your hands. Just like that. Okay. Usually if you can get through that first, like the biggest top part, you don't have to fool with the rest. And you can pack these pretty doggone thick inside of here. They're going to shrink when canning. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now remember, we didn't add garlic either. So what I'm gonna do is continue with all these. You could do the garlic, and we're gonna fill them up. I never can judge, and I never do weigh my produce. I should. Sometimes I do. I shouldn't say that. Sometimes I do weigh my produce. Sometimes I don't. But even if you weigh it, it's not going to be like the instructions say. It's always something different. Now, if you'll notice with these, I'm cutting off the tops and the blossom end. Cut off the top and the tail of anything that you can preserve. Always do that. The blossom end, because it wants to preserve. When I mean the blossom end, is that the tip. Just slice it off. Someone said on the squash video that I wasted too much food. Guys, just do the best you can, okay? If we're in here in our kitchen with it 90-something degrees outside and we're pickling peppers, I think we're doing okay. So you just do the best you can with chopping this stuff up. I'm proud of you. Y'all can do this. I can do this. We all can do this. All right, guys, so I've got my jars filled. I could have went a little bit taller in these, but I was running low, so we just made it by. So I'm going to use my funnel, and we're going to go to 1/2 inch headspace. You can add in pickle crisp at this time. I'm not, because by the time they get on a pizza, it's the same. It is what it is. So I'm going to take my hot mixture here with my vinegar and water and put it over these. This is messy, okay? And go like that. Have to add, so still do your debubbler, go all the way around against the sides of the jar to get out the air bubbles. You must do this. You cannot skip this step. When you buy a debubbler, measure off 1 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1/4 inch. Cut it into the plastic. You'll thank me later. That way you'll know how far to go, especially if you're a beginner canner. So the first step with this is take a damp paper towel. You could use a rag. I like a paper towel, and clean off the rim around each one, and you want to go inside and out. See how my fingers have hooked right there, inside out. Go round and round. Make sure it's really clean. Put them on, kind of put them down where they won't wiggle. If they slide all over the place, wipe them off again and then put it down. These have to be dry, 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 that rubber. It's just my experience of the ones that do the best. And then put on your rings. And we've talked about this before, guys. Ooh. But if your ring, if you have trouble and you're trying to finagle with it to get it on, it's not going to do well, okay? You want to put it on and see how it just spun down, and then give it an extra little squeeze. Put it over in here. Put your ring on. Like that one. Okay, do you see I'm off track? That's one reason you're having to go round and round. But that, once you get it on track and it spins well, that means you're good. If you have a lot of rust on the inside of your rings, you'll have that trouble, it won't seal. That right there, that one was perfect, how it just spun right on. I promise you, that is what I've seen. If I've had to sit here and wire work these back and forth, they never seal. Okay, so now, over here, I'm going to add my hot water, my boiling hot water. Save your debubbler, because you're going to pour 1 inch of water on top of these. You want it 1 inch above the tallest jar. So I'm taking this and I'm measuring. Be very careful with this. This is very hot. I want y'all to see this in this electric canner. This is why I say this is so dangerous. Do you see the water level? It's right here at the top. Now that's the approved method, but I'm going to use my debubbler again at the 1 inch mark where we've marked it in there. If y'all can see, 1 inch. Put it down and it meets that line. That's perfect. That's how I measure, and I go to each jar in case it's unlevel. So now what I'm going to do is put my lid on. This is why I say it's dangerous. If you bump up against this, you're going to be in a mess. So we're going to put the lid on. Put it here. turn it. And then when it says fill jars, which it does down here, hit enter. That's it. It'll tell you when you can take them out. That's how to pickle peppers, guys. There's nothing to it. We'll see you guys next time on Harmon Homestead.